One of the things that they're not telling you that they don't mention when they show you that when you see the old films and you see the old aircraft, like the radial engines and everything of the old, what they're not telling you is that all those engines are actually made from titanium. They are not steel engines. I did not have steel engines. I did not use steel engines. Steel was kind of like one of those metals. It wasn't really that good for a very long time. We had something a lot better. We used titanium. The heads were made of titanium. The crankshaft was made out of titanium. The the blocks for the engines were made out of titanium. Everything was made out of titanium because nothing else. I mean, to really get the power to really get that real power of an engine, especially an aircraft engine, we needed titanium. The cast iron was too heavy and not good enough, so we started using titanium for everything, basically. The heads were made out of titanium. Everything was made out of titanium. I forget exactly how they did it. We started working. That's another thing that we started doing is the titanium to and then cooling vanes, aluminum cooling vanes, or some sort of something cooling. Anyway, a lot of the stuff was actually made out of titanium, or a titanium component was what was in it. Basically, like titanium mixed into things. I forget exactly the metallurgy of it, but the metallurgy of those engines was different than any metallurgy that you would find today in engines. They don't make them like that anymore. Nowadays, they use cast iron. They use cheap. They use cheap and fast and mass produced. Those airplanes that are featured in there were made from the best, toughest metal like the Bismarck and stuff like that. They were my aircraft were made out of titanium, like titanium crankshafts and this and that. Titanium's kind of like a heavy metal, I believe, to use. It's better in thin. We were messing around with it though, like different kind of mixtures of metal and that kind of stuff. Like I said, you could not beat Germany's metal. They're just forget about it. Like even today, they don't make metal like they used to. Many people, any historical person or any person that is old would tell you that they don't make it anymore. They don't make anything like that anymore. It's not made. They used to make it, and it was really that strong and it was really that good. I mean, we had engines that would last millions of hours, and you'd take them apart, and it's like nowhere, nothing. It's fine. Run it some more. The rings would wear off, and they would just change out the rings or something like that. You know, the amount of wear on those engines was like minuscule. Nowadays they use steel, they use cheap parts that wear out. In the old days, those aircraft they didn't wear out. They used like super thin. I mean like the titanium skin on the SR-71. We did that all the time. Like that was just the SR-71. Like I believe I did have a titanium P-51. I had a titanium P-38. I had titanium everywhere. I had a lot of titanium. All the titanium from what's called from Panama. Titanium is I think it's like one third. There's not that much really, but it is out there. Anyway, though, I had like a huge stock of titanium basically, so I made a lot of my engines out of titanium. A lot, everything. I mean, the scientists were really doing it and working on it, and I was like, okay. And we were messing around with like titanium this, but steel that, or titanium this and aluminum that. Although and we were messing around with the different because different metals like expand more and contract more, and the differences of all that, and that was a really lot in there. But those engines that were made in the old days with the old aircraft, they were not like the engines today. They melted down those engines for because mostly because of how good of metal they were. Like they were made too well, and they were like, well, I mean, you might be able to take some samples of some of the engines. You might find one of them. I don't really know, but a lot of the stuff was actually made out of titanium, a lot more than you would find today. Um, and the metallurgy was like a lot better, actually. Like I say, if you talk to any of the old people, they'll say they don't make that anymore because the metallurgy back then was like they were only like 8 or 16 or 32. Like all the films that you see, those are all just my aircraft. I was the only one, I think. Maybe like two or three other people were filming, but they were filming mostly because like I was paying them to film. Like people didn't really just film things. Like I had to give them a camera, I had to pay them. And so pretty much, like I said, I had like 240 or like 2,000 or more different groups, and they were doing different things. Like I mean, there might have been stuff that I didn't know about, but I mean, my stuff was all filmed because I was doing a recorded history because I wanted to see everything and all that. So anyway, but they don't make that. They don't make the engines like they used to, and stuff was made a lot better back then. Well, we didn't make as much. We were, that like I say, there were only probably like 32 or 400 aircraft. There were only like 400 submarines or something, or not even that, like 80 submarines or something for the most part. And we were talking about like the whole world. Well, I don't know what the rest of the world was doing. I was on the cutting edge, of course. Huge amounts of money, lots of gold, more gold than I could ever know what to do with, and like probably thousands or millions of people working for me. So anyway, though, and then that led to today, and funding them like getting, like I say, the jet fan thing, which is basically a jet and a gearbox and a big fan like they have on the new jets. It's a little bit more efficient, but I was paying for it. You could see it. They started out with it like in Germany, and they were messing around with it, and I was paying out huge amounts of money, like 15,000. Well, I built France. I paid 15,000 pounds francs or something like that. Mostly it's the metal, really. But francs to have things built and stuff, and mining operations started, and then they would start to pay out, and then they'd give to me, Lucifer, White Star Lines, Brian Briley. I mean, it was all my operations. Like I say, technically I am their creator and their God and their Lord and everything else like that. So who else was going to build it? So I did. Anyway, so it doesn't really matter now. And JFK and Nixon got in the way, like all big, annoying, nasty style and stuff. So, but I mean, a lot of my Germans and stuff would remember me. Like I say, a lot of people went through Auschwitz, and they knew that Auschwitz was a good place. I mean, it ran down after a while, and I kept on having to have like inspections of this, inspections of that, and you know how things get old and degraded. I mean, problems creep in there, and it's like, oh, time to clean it up and check on it. Like I said, my all my camps and all my cities would be checked about once or twice a year, and my people were very busy running around, looking at this, looking at that, taking samples of water, taking samples of dirt. We were sampling everything. It's a lot of work to really keep things moving in the right direction, and getting all these different groups set up so they it becomes more like a family thing where it's like, whoa, I'm 20th generation sampler, and we go around and we sample the dirt, sample the water, look for contamination, and that's pretty much what it was about. So they just would run around the country, run around the world, like looking at everything, sampling everything, making sure there's no poison, making sure everything's safe for children. I mean, it's a lot of work, and that's what we were doing, and like I said, I wasn't trying to cover up anything, telling the public about problems, getting people made aware, putting out signs saying like do not drink water, poisoned or bad water. Any unsafe watering holes, would be marked with signs and stuff saying you don't drink, poison. The little skull and crossbones, people got used to my little skull and crossbones a lot because that would mean dangerous, poisonous, bad. So they would I had to put on, because children would take like cyanide or whatever and pour it out, and then they would taste it, and like it's a poison, it kills them. So and then we would have like 3 or 4 children that died, and it's like, well, they didn't know any better, and the woman would be really crying and upset, and it's like, it's okay, it's just something bad that happened. I'd make sure that they were taken care of, and getting all those bottles changed, all the labels. Like I said, we invented labels so we could keep people from being poisoned. And then getting that on the little thing so children could know, and then, making sure it's away, making sure people know what items have poison in them. I mean, with the whole world and all these products that I was manufacturing, like, children don't know any better, old people don't know any better, or people don't know any better, and a lot of accidents happen. So, and with 7 billion people, that's a lot of accidents that can happen. Like 50,000 people can die a year just from accidentally doing something. When you're looking at 7 billion people,